Ever since the optical telescope has been a primary tool of the astronomer, man has sought the refuge of mountain locations to give him better transparency for observation. The observatory, founded in 1898 at Kodaikanal in the Palni Hills, overlooks the hot, dusty plains of Madurai and Ramnad in southern Tamil Nadu. You see here the advantage of a 2,300 meter elevation with the inversion layer below you and the dusty plains in the distance. A clear day greets you with a deep blue sky. Gurgling streams pour forth their waters in a silvery cascade. The sholas on the mountain slopes, so dense that the rays of the sun seldom reach the ground, and where beasts take cover from the ravages of man. Here on a mountain top, you have a panoramic view of the observatory so well known over the world for its contributions to solar physics. These domes house the oldest telescopes at the institution. The white light photoheliograph is that on the left, the great Madras refractor in the dome on the right. Here is the spectroheliograph building, where some of the major discoveries in solar physics were made. This plaque commemorates the discovery of the Evershed effect, the first finding of guided flow of ionized matter in a magnetic field. The spectroheliographs have photographed the sun on every clear day since 1904. The wealth of photographic material collected by the instruments here is of inestimable value, especially since it covers 7 sunspot cycles, each of 11-year period. Only at the observatories in Paris and at Mount Wilson in California does a comparable collection exist. The roof over the siderostat is rolled off by the observer. The siderostat is started. Its gravity-driven clock counteracts the Earth's rotation, so that parallel light from the sun falls constantly on this lens, which forms an image of the sun on the slit of the spectroheliograph. The uniform movement of the instrument helps the build-up of an image on a stationary photographic plate in monochromatic light of ionized calcium. New facilities at Kodaikanal, built up in the last quarter century, are this tower and underground spectrograph. Sunlight is reflected from one flat mirror to another, and yet a third before it falls on a telescope lens of 120 feet focal length. A large-sized image of diameter 13 inches is formed. The required part of the solar image is brought onto the slit, and the observer gets ready to get a sequence of spectra recorded on a movie camera film transport. The same equipment is used by different observers on different programs. The heart of this instrument is a diffraction grating with 15,000 lines ruled to the inch. It is not always a dreary life of routine that a mountain-top astronomer leads. There are interludes when ministers and their retinues visit, as in this instance when Dr. Karan Singh visited the observatory. Some of them take a lively interest in the proceedings and display an abundant curiosity. Some amongst these visitors are great scientific celebrities. Here is a visit of Dr. Homi Bhabha in 1964. Dr. Bhabha is entering the library that serves as a lecture hall to speak to the assembled gathering. And there is the visit of Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, the distinguished astrophysicist. He visited the observatory in 1961 and gave several lectures. In the 8 decades of its existence, the observatory on the mountain top at Kodaikanal has played an important role in the progress of astronomical science. The several men who have passed through its portals have contributed in many different ways to the saga of success. When one recalls the names of those who have visited it or who have played a significant role in its development, one thinks of Pogson, Mickey Smith, Kelvin, Stokes, Airy, Lockyer, Evershed, Royds, Narayan, Das, Saha, Shapley, Spencer Jones, Bhabha, Chandrasekhar, Ambadzumian. And it seems a listing of the great names in astronomy. It is truly said that the greatness of an institution is the achievement of the individuals associated with it. Kavalur in the Javadi hills of Tamil Nadu, where the lone eagle soars high in the clear sky. The peahen struts glamorously in her surroundings. and where astronomers of the Indian Institute of Astrophysics probe the mysteries of the universe. Deep in the heart of this rustic plateau nestles the village after which the observatory is known. A village that is no different from the 1,000 others scattered around in this country, where it is peaceful, calm and serene, and where the passage of time sees little change in traditional activity. The weekly shandy finds the barber removing a week's growth from many chins, and the urchin exchanges for a titbit the coin he may have earned for good behavior. Here in the village lie clustered together the huts, the paddy fields, and the oldest form of transport known to man, while in the distance an embodiment of sophisticated 20th century technology towers on the horizon. The dirt road with its irregular surface jostles us appreciably before we enter the premises of the new observatory. The sentry's salute snaps us into the awareness of entry into a new domain of meaningful activity. An army marches on its stomach, and astronomers are no exception either. They congregate at frequent intervals here in this building, which is the dining hall. As we drive along, we pass by the temporary workshop and onto a main avenue of blue flowering jacarandas before the tower and dome of the 40-inch telescope appear. The shutters open and the dome rotates on pressing a button. We see the graceful lines of the telescope as it moves to take up a position parallel to the Earth's axis of rotation. a little comedy of self-consciousness, for after all, astronomers are human. The story of the observatory at KBO is a story less than 2 decades old. Poor observing conditions at Kodaikanal, especially during the night hours, prompted the search for a site for a new field station for stellar telescopes. A site survey team set out in April 1962 to examine observing conditions in the Yelagiri and Javadi hills. The team set up camp deep in the interior of the forests on Yelagiri, principally inhabited by the tribals, referred to by the urban folk as the Malayalis. A portable telescope was used to study the image definition and quality, which astronomers refer to as seeing. This was how members of the site survey team crawled through the lantana bushes in the present campus of the observatory. Soon after the Kavalur site was chosen, astronomical activity commenced. A 15-inch telescope was set up in an ancient roll-off structure, and a makeshift lodging for the observer made available for use by the astronomer. The lantana bushes were cleared in parts and floral afforestation commenced. The 40-inch telescope arrived in several boxes, and a structure to house them assembled in a hurry, even as the trucks were awaiting clearance of their precious cargo. Meanwhile, the tower atop which the telescope would be erected was under construction. in strict quantitative fashion, 4 buckets of water and the appropriate cement, metal, sand constituents were well mixed. And poured into containers. That were hoisted up. And poured into place. White-helmeted workers of the Institute step nimbly over the crisscross scaffolding and watch what is none of their business, so as to tell posterity of their share as eyewitnesses to all this rapid growth. Meanwhile, time marches on. The building and dome are completed. The telescope installed in 1972, and it enters on its career of astronomical discovery with immediate spectacular results. Here is an auxiliary telescope, a 15-inch reflector for photometric observing. Man is ambitious and is always eager for more. Soon the astronomers were asking for a larger telescope, one of 92 inches aperture, which they felt they could build indigenously with local brain and brawn. The opticians work on the glass blank that will form the primary mirror of the telescope. The structural engineers fit up the shell structure of the dome prior to covering by iron sheets. And in a year or two, Kavalur will have another major facility that will help its astronomers probe farther into the universe.
Total solar eclipses have been watched by men from time immemorial. These are moments when the veil of mystery surrounding the sun is momentarily lifted. Scientists all over the world eagerly wait for such opportunities. One such moment was predicted to be seen from India in the afternoon of 16 February 1980. The scientists of the Indian Institute of Astrophysics at Bangalore made elaborate plans for this event. The path of totality was to cross the Indian peninsula. Suitable locations were first chosen for installation of sensitive instruments along the path. The scientists of this institute selected two locations at Hosur near Hubli and Javalgara near Raichur. New instruments were designed and fabricated in the institute's workshop. Arrangements for testing these under field conditions are made in the campus. Modifications, if needed, must be found and incorporated before they are installed in actual site. Kilometer away at Kavalur, larger structures are under fabrication. Some unsolved mysteries of the deep layers of the chromosphere are selected for investigation during the event. The experiment will need a 70 feet tall tower for making crucial observations during the brief seconds at the beginning and end of totality. Sections are fabricated and carted to be installed at the Javalgara site, 450 kilometers away. Only a month away, the hectic activity is about to be shifted to the site. Packing up instruments, and finally they are loaded in trucks and the convoy starts on its way. Miles and miles of road, the national highway with the familiar traffic on the roads. Then still narrower roads leading to the site which is situated at the center of the path of totality. And finally a bumpy track leading to the state farm at Javalgara. An entire day's journey. We left in the morning and now we have reached our destination at sunset. The tower is almost complete. We had doubts whether the black cotton soil will stand the weight of the tower. To our great relief, it has. Working 18 hours a day, our engineers have braved the burning rays of the sun to meet the challenge. They have overcome the hardships, even accidents. Three days to go. Bappu takes a final look at the arrangements at the West Camp at Hosur. A select group of scientists led by the veteran A.P. Jayarajan has finalized the setup. Their observations, mostly using classical instruments, will provide valuable complementary data to results obtained at Javalgara using sophisticated instruments. The sequence of operations at the crucial time of the totality need be carefully rehearsed. There will be no chances for any retake. Back to Javalgara, just one day more. Whatever final touches to be given must be completed by today. It is no longer the quiet, lonely farm. The whole place is teeming with people. The newsmen, filmmakers, scientists, and hordes of curious villagers. The most ambitious experiments still require final touches. Careful adjustments of the spectrographs are still to be completed. The scientists do not take a chance. Movements are carefully greased. It should not get stuck at the awkward moment. All instruments are checked. Bappu has a careful look to another equipment aimed to acquire for the first time a high dispersion spectra of the spicules. The entire experiment will last for a couple of seconds. Every bit of sunlight must be collected to ensure success. Special instruments have been set up for the multi-spectroscopy of the corona. Saxena repeatedly checks his equipment. Yugoslavs share a oscillostat with him. The arrangement produces no loss in sensitivity, but some degree of constraint in operations. Appearance of clouds caused some anxiety, but not too much. We had carefully checked about 100 years of meteorological data. Chances of cloudiness is less than 20%. Statistically, our chances of getting a clear sky tomorrow is in fact enhanced. Visitors have started coming in large numbers. We make special arrangements to explain our aims. A few youngsters have even ventured to set up their own experiments. Time does not stop. The long shadows, the sun is about to set, the last day before the eclipse is over. Ultimately, the great day arrives. We see some low stratus clouds in the horizon, but that is no ominous sign. It will definitely disappear with the progress of the day. The activities in the camp has already begun. Outside the camp, the sleepy life of the Central State Farm rolls along in its mundane path, unaware of the hopes, doubts, and anxieties in the Eclipse camp. The man who carries the burden is Bappu, but he does not show it at all. He is making his round, instilling confidence in the hearts of all. Final checks and adjustments. The director of the filming unit of the National Council of Educational Research is keen to know what the youngsters are up to. The Yugoslav team has brought a modern photoelectric equipment for recording coronal spectra. Almost all set. An early lunch, not for the superstition about partaking of meals during eclipses, but to keep the people at their stations during the event. We had many visitors around. Right in time. Well, the eclipse is over. The transient magic of nature has appeared and gone. Professor Bach now wants to have a close look at the tower instrument. He does not mind climbing the rickety ladder in spite of his 75 years. He is immensely proud of what his favorite student Venu has done. Out again, Bappu looks tired, but he is happy. A job accomplished. A few scraps of paper, but very important. Professor Venkateshwarlu discusses details. Everyone is busy explaining his experience. Still some daylight is left.
I think being a solar maximum year, the one expected that the corona would be quite symmetric, and indeed it certainly was symmetric, and so many beautiful radiant streamers coming out. So, as you would all agree, a most fascinating spectacle. Professor Bach says the diamond rings, he has seen diamond rings that last for a longer duration, but even this diamond ring.
Diamond ring was big?
Yes.
The last one was from
For nearly this, I am sure this was about 5 seconds, would you say? 5 seconds. Breathtaking. I only wish that the eclipse lasted a little bit longer. But there it is, that's what's the principal charm of the total eclipse. Well, if we have scored any degree of success, it is to a large extent to a whole lot of people. Each one has put his weight in some way.
Night creeps in after a long day. All scientists gather around a campfire for a few relaxed hours after days of struggle. Some speak, others sing. Everyone is happy.